Hello, book connectors. Welcome or welcome back to the Book Connection. I am your host, Blue-Eyed Black Devil. I'm here today with another book from the Seven Deadly Sins series, written by Victoria Christopher Murray. We're up to the fourth book in this series, and this book is entitled Wrath. Okay, book connectors, you may call me crazy on this one. Now, you know I tell you when I read, I am looking for the backstory or the underlying story in every book that I read. But now, in this case, the backstory or the underlying story is the main story. You'll see what I'm talking about here as I tell the story. Now, Hakeem, why do I keep saying Hakeem? This man's name is Xavier King and Chastity Jeffries. They come from two totally different walks of life, and they both have secrets or baggage, rather, that they are currently dealing with, but they haven't told one another. So they just go on. Now, they are both well educated. They both have law degrees, and they are quite successful in their practices. He deals in corporate law. She deals in divorce. She's a divorce attorney. All that's all fine, well, and good. Xavier was born and raised in Natchez, Mississippi. But Chastity Jeffries was born and raised in New York. When she left home to go to college out of high school, she did not come back to New York until after she got her law school degree. So I guess it's safe to say she was gone about 12 or 13 years. She didn't even go back on holiday breaks and things. Now, her father was a former NBA player. After he left basketball, he became a minister. The only problem is he was still running in the streets. He had just multiple affairs on his wife, and she would hear her mother crying. She would hear them arguing, trying to keep the voices down, but she heard nonetheless. She just couldn't understand why her mother stayed, but she did. And now that Chastity is back in New York practicing law, he has changed his ways. Now it's all about his wife, and he can't stop apologizing. And this is not, well, yes it is. No way of getting around it. So when she comes back to town, she sees her mom right away. But it took her a minute to finally go to church and see her dad. So he's in the pulpit just preaching. And he says at some point he welcomes his daughter back home, and he talked about how he hadn't seen her in forever and a day. And he was like, he got to talking about, I can't remember the sermon that day, but at some point he got to talking about how, he is human and he's made mistakes. I can't tell you. Oh, yeah, I'm saved. And I strayed even when I have been saved. Oh, I was a hoe out there in the streets, and somebody in church said, you better tell it. So, but he gave his little testimony, and they went on. Well, when she did go to church, she had been out with Xavier a couple of times. They didn't really know each other. Matter of fact, he was in behind Chastity's best friend named Melanie. But Melanie is married. She is a plastic surgeon. I can't remember what area of medicine. Her husband was in, but they were both in medicine. And so now, one night, Chastity and Melanie went to the bar. They were going to have a few drinks after work. In comes Xavier in behind Melanie. And she just, I don't know how many times he had been trying to talk to her, but she just threw her hands up and she was like, look, I am married. This means I am no longer, I'm not available, blah, blah, blah. This is my friend. Maybe she'd like to talk to you and this, that, and the other. So Chastity kind of felt like, okay, well, so I wasn't your first choice. The only reason you stopped pursuing my friend is when you found out she was married. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's pretty good reason to quit pursuing her, but I could also see why Chastity would feel like she was just like the last choice. But they worked it out, and they had dated, like I said, 2 or 3 times when her mom invited him to go to church with them one Sunday. Now, he is a non-believer. They didn't say that he was an atheist or even an agnostic. But when he found out that she was a preacher's kid, they had to have a talk about going to church and what role it played in their lives. And can't remember what he said, but she was like, what, do you not believe in God? And it took him a while to respond, and he finally said, well, I used to. And I used to go to God in earnest and pray, but nothing I ever prayed for ever changed for me. So I've read a lot, and I used to have to go to church with my grandmother. Now let's talk about the underlying or the backstory, which to me was the main story. Xavier King was raised by his grandmother, who, for whatever reason, she appeared to hate him. Her daughter is Xavier's mom. Now, he and his mom did have a place from time to time, but when things got real hard, they'd always move in with her mother. But she was always in search of better jobs and gainful employment, and while she was on the search, she would leave him there with her mother. Now, Xavier was a product of he wasn't there because he was in love. Well, his parents were in love with each other. He was a product of that R word, which is why the grandmother so hated him. But if I'm being honest, when I first read that the grandma, because she was both verbally and physically abusive to Xavier, and didn't seem to care who knew it. He did not have friends, and most of his clothes came from secondhand stores and things of that nature. Now, his father came to light. Sometimes when that lady, his grandmother, was at home and she knew she wasn't going to be there by the time Xavier got off the bus home, she would send her sister, which is his great aunt, to let him in and fix him a snack or, a sandwich or something. Well, this one time she came and she fixed him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then just out of nowhere, she starts to talk. And she looks at him eating, and she said, boy, you look just like your daddy. He was like, oh, you know my dad? Everybody knows your dad. Bobby Green is his name. Oh, you got the same coloring that he had and the same, even your hair. you're just your dad's child. Everybody knows that. And I tried to tell my sister, your grandmother, about this man. So why I said that I was kind of questioning is because the way his great aunt was talking to him, for a minute I thought that the grandmother and his mother were sharing this man, until I found out that what he had done to Xavier's mom. And his great aunt kept saying, I just kept telling her she just would not believe your mama. She wouldn't believe your mama. That's why it's always so tense when she does come, because he was crazy about his mom. And she kept making promises that the next time she comes back, she will get him and take him to wherever she's living. Well, that never happened. And the grandmother, in the meantime, just for any perceived slight, she goes off on him for reasons we don't understand. I mean, switches, belts, extension cords. If she can't get any of that stuff, then she just hits them all in his head. Well, this comes to a head on the night of his 13th birthday. His mother would always send him a card, like I said earlier, with the promise of coming back to get him so that they could live together. She would put him some money in the card. Now, I can't say the grandmother, if she has any redeeming qualities, is that she didn't take his money. She would let him keep whatever she sent him. Now, she was sending him $75, but on his 12th birthday, she sent him a $100 bill. He had never held a $100 bill before. Every penny she sent him, he never spent it. He kept it in his closet, put up. And so, on the night of his 13th birthday, the grandmother wouldn't allow him to check the mail. She said he didn't need to be in her business. If he got anything, she would give it to him. So they go all day. She doesn't hand him anything. So finally, at night, she was lying across her bed, and he comes in. And he was like, did anything come in the mail for me today? She looked up and said, oh, what, you talking about your birthday? He said, uh-huh. This lady says, how is she going to send you something for your birthday if she's dead? He had no idea that his mother was no longer alive. So he starts to tear up and cry, and he's asking, when did this happen? When did this happen? And he starts to clench his fist, and he just, straighten his fingers out. And for whatever reason, Grandmama, she noticed it. And she never took her eyes off of his hands. Because once before, she had gotten on to him about something, and he did that, and he was going to go, strike out or whatever, but he didn't. And so I guess she must have remembered that, because when she saw him doing that night, she never took her eyes off of his hands, and he's just crying. When did this happen? So finally, all his grandmother finally said was, I don't know. I don't know. And so he turns around and walks out of a room. He graduates, I think it was like the next month, and when his name is called, he looks in the audience, and there is absolutely nobody there to show support for him. And I was surprised, because grandmother's sister, Virginia, she was the only one that seemed to know, that he was having a hard time living with the grandmama. And the grandmama probably already made it know she wasn't going. But I don't know. Maybe Aunt Virginia didn't know when the graduation was to take place. Either way it goes, no one was there. So after he graduates, he goes home, he packs everything, and with his money he had collected, I think it was a little over $500, it was enough to get him a ticket to New York, and that's where he goes to college and all of this stuff. Now, he has one best friend since he's been in New York. His best friend's name is Bryce. Bryce is some sort of a counselor, and so he talks to Bryce about how he was raised, and he has issues, some anger issues. In fact, it has caused him, let me see. Yeah, because one of those times, and this is not funny either, but Bryce comes over unexpected as Xavier's current girlfriend, the one who was immediately before he got with Chastity Jeffries. That lady had just left here. So Bryce goes over and he helps himself to a beer. Xavier's just sitting there and he was like, "What's going on?" And Xavier's like, "Oh, nothing. Roxanne just left." He said, "She's not, what happened? Did she Trina, Diane, and Jackie you?" That's not funny. But he had proposed to 4 women in a span of 18 months. Every one of them said yes. But then he would go on these anger rants. He never hit any of the women, but he damaged property. Each time his aggression was getting worse and worse. And Roxanne was also a counselor, but she couldn't get him the help that she knew he needed. So Bryce is saying, Xavier, you're going to have to spend some time by yourself. You don't just have to be with the woman. He was like spoken like a man that's doing what you're suggesting I do. He said, "But I don't have your issues." He said, "I have baggage, but my baggage is not yours. And these women you are with, they are very educated, they are intelligent, they have their own money, as do you. So really and truly, if you could get your temper and your anger managed properly, there is not a woman who would walk away from you. But right now you're putting holes in walls. And if the therapist walked away from you, I don't know. I just feel like professionally and personally, I feel like you just need some time to work on you before you entertain another woman." But it was too late. Because by then, when this conversation took place, Xavier was already seeing Chastity. So they went on a weekend together, Xavier and Chastity. They went to New Orleans. Xavier staged a fake marriage, but he led Chastity to believe that the marriage was on the up and up. What happened was he was upset about something, and first he hit his fist into his other hand. But then, he just kept on and on and on, and he smashed another hole in the wall. And so she jumps, and he was like, "I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to hit you." She was like, "I don't know that. I can't, I have never had this to happen before." Blah, blah, blah. So he felt if he could not get this girl to marry him, she would leave him as well. So he gets in touch with someone from his high school days, his college days. And he was real good friends with this man's brother. But the man was on the up and up, but his brother would do stuff, if the price was right. So they drafted up all of this fake stuff, and they married. Now, mind you, Chastity she's not aware. She didn't know that she was going to marry. They had not even discussed getting married. But then when he got through with all of the sob stories and stuff, he finally convinced her to marry. And that's when, she thought everything was on the up and up. So they get back to New York. Now her father has, some people call it a sixth sense. He had been that whole weekend obsessed with not hearing from Chastity. Her mom called and told her, it was all I could do to keep your dad from hopping the plane to come to New Orleans, and he needs to see you. She said, well, we're just getting back, and I'm going to start a big case tomorrow. She said, well, we won't be there long. We just need to see you. And just this once, please, just let it be you. Just you. And so she tells Xavier about this. And she said, well, maybe, they had agreed that after so long, he could come. I think the parents were supposed to be there at 6 o'clock. He was supposed to pop up. Xavier was at 7. Now, he wanted to wait till 7 because she knew she needed to tell her parents, or at least her mom. So he said, well, just give me till 7 o'clock and I'll come and we will sit down and tell them together that we're married. But her dad just would not let up. Something just was not right. He knew. So finally, the mom laughed and she said, he acts like you're married. And she was like, Mom, Dad, Papa, she called him Papa, I do need to tell you something. We are married. We got married over the weekend, so the dad is about to blow a gasket now. And he was like, I knew it. She said, but now, Papa, hold up, because we did not leave here planning to get married. We simply went because we are both working high-profile cases, and we didn't know when we would have a chance to go or do anything together. So we just did it this weekend, but one thing led to another. He calls her like at 10 minutes till 7 and tells her he's held up. Well, she sent him a text, rather. He told her to give him a few more minutes and he would be on his way. So she did tell him that she had decided to go ahead and tell her parents. The mom, she laughed until she went into hysterics, but the father, understandably, never could find out why that was so funny. If he had just stopped and thought, he knew why it was. She didn't think it was funny. She was just upset, and she just couldn't believe, because she had been a good girl all her life. She tried her best to live up to her parents' expectations of her. So this was something that was just totally off the rocker. Her best friend, Melanie, she hadn't had a chance to talk to Melanie, so Melanie didn't know either. Well, eventually, Xavier comes, and he's like, yeah, I know she already told you, but my plans was for us to tell you together. I really love your daughter, and you've done a commendable job raising her, and this, that, and the other. So he said, but what I would like to do is have a second ceremony. So, because I would love for you, Mr. Jeffries, to do your daughter the honor of walking her down the aisle. The dad was like, no, that's over. That ship is already sailed. Ain't gonna be none of that. So then Xavier's like, okay, so maybe when we can see ourselves as our cases are starting to wrap up, maybe we could have a nice reception. And you can do all that you would have done had you married her. And so the dad reluctantly agreed to it. So they go on about their business. But eventually he gets upset again. She wanted to go look because they are both living in apartments at this time. And she said they had already talked about moving into a house. They both made decent money. They felt like they could put what they had together and get something nice. But he was off one day, but he was upset about something. She was like, well, I was just thinking, you're off today, and I'll wrap up my day. I can be done by 11. You want to go look at houses. And you would have thought she cursed him out. He's ranting and raving and hitting himself in the hand again. Just pound it. And she jumped. He's like, what's wrong with you? She says, I'm scared. I've never seen the side of you, Xavier. I don't understand where this is coming from. And he's just going on and on. And wouldn't you know it, he does haul off and just smashes a hole in the wall. So she goes home to her apartment that night. Here comes Bryce. And they are talking about everything, but then he looks up and he sees that hole. He said, nah, Doc, I know you didn't do it again. You did not do this again. And he said, I didn't hit her. He said, but you hit the wall. And you have to understand that eventually this is going to go from your hand to the wall to her. And you have lost 3 fiancés. Well, yeah, it was Roxanne, Trina, Jackie, and Diane. Yeah, 4 fiancés. And every one of them have left because of this, which tells me, it should tell you, that you don't have this under control. Your way is not working. All right, so eventually they do go on and they start to look at houses. And he was like, the people at the bank, when they were looking at money and stuff and transferring everything over, they were like, we need your marriage certificate or your marriage license and stuff. And he was like, oh, I forgot it. And she was like, well, I'm going to have my driver's license changed into my new last name. Well, when she goes to the DMV, she could not produce a valid marriage certificate. And that ticked him off when she came. She said, oh, I went to go get my driver's license, but they wouldn't give it to me because they said that the marriage license is not valid. He just went off the end. So I think that's when he punched 2 holes in the wall that time. That lady got her stuff. She got up and she left. She sent them a long text and told him, like all the other women, I'll be back to get my things at a later date. So when she does come back, he's home. Of course, he's calmed down now. And so he starts pleading with her, please don't go, but I love you and I'm sorry. I'll right all of the wrong I'm doing. And she's like, I love you. I always will, but we can't. This will never work out. It's never going to work out because eventually you will hit me. And I can't be with you because you don't want, yeah, I do want help. We can go to marriage counseling and this, that, and the other. She said, but the issue is with you. I'm not having an issue, that's you. And as much as I love you now, I know that if I stay, it's only going to get worse. You'll start making excuses for why you're not going, or you'll find fault with everyone we see. So I just think, as bad as it hurts, we need to go ahead and go our separate ways. So Bryce finds out that Chastity has also left him. And he's like, man, I just don't know anything else to tell you. All I can tell you is the one thing you, for whatever you refuse to do. So it ends with him saying that he would just work on himself. If that meant going to therapy, then that's what it meant. He just knew he did not want to be alone. His mom had abandoned him. His grandmother kept the roof over his head, but that was because she was being paid. It wasn't out of love. And his dad I think he was in prison. And so he pretty much, that's how it is. He finds himself by himself now. The thing with these books is every book is different characters and different stories. But I wish that the fifth book, which is Pride, I wish it would be a carryover from this book, because I would love to know if Xavier ever did really go and get the help he needed, and if he ever found himself in a relationship again and somehow he made it work. I would just like to know. And if the relationship was back with Chastity, although I don't believe it would be, and none of the other women he had been with, they never went back for a second round. So I would like to know if she went on and found someone else to, that she could actually marry and share her life with. I just don't know. But now, although this completes this book, and like I said, I wish the fifth one would be that, but the fifth one is Pride. And I think the main character in there, her name is Journey Alexander. I just don't remember who her love interest is going to be. But I am upset because I do not like to read serials and box sets unless all of the books are available. I don't understand why it is that there are only 5 books. I'm going to start reading Pride probably the weekend, but I'm not going to be in a hurry to finish it because we don't have, what's the other thing? Gluttony. There's not a book for gluttony yet, and then there's not a book for sloth. So I'll probably find some more books to get into. Well, hopefully she will get around to at least one of those book releases before the year is out. Now, I do know that, although I don't watch a lot of TV, but a lot of these books, these 4 books that I've read, some of them, I don't know if all of them, but at least 3 of them have been adapted for Lifetime movies. Maybe all 4 of them, but I know 3 have been. So maybe that is part of why she has not released a book for the other 2 scenes. And I hope whenever she releases them, I don't have to reread these 4 or 5 to keep up with the last 2, which I probably won't, because like I say right now, the 5 that she has released, they are 5 different stories. You can read them as standalones or as a series. So that's All of that on this book. So, like I said, once again, Book Connectors, this wraps up this particular video. I hope you all enjoyed it. And just know, subscribers, I thank you so very much for being subscribed. I know time I go on this tirade about y'all check and make sure if I'm still on YouTube. If I want, number one, make sure if you have subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed. But if you don't see anything, and I had the nerve to put a time frame on it. If you don't see anything for a week to 10 days, just type in the Book Connection and you'll find my things there. And time, because this has happened before. Time I do that, looks like I'll go a couple of weeks before I post anything. So I need to be a little more diligent before I ask that of you all. But to the subscribers who are subscribed, thank you for being subscribed and being patient. Visitors, thank you for visiting the channel, even if you do not choose to subscribe. I do have one new subscriber. We're all the way up to 77, y'all. And thank you, new subby, for being subscribed. And visitors, you know I really mean it. Feel free to subscribe. I would appreciate that. And then, please, everybody, please do not forget to like, share, comment respectfully. And by all means, once you see that you are subscribed, have your notification bells not only turned on, but set to all. So you will see as much as I possibly can, let it be known, when I upload a video. And in the meantime, Book Connectors, remember this. As long as there are books around, there is always something to read. And until we read again, Book Connectors, be safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your work week. And God bless. Bye for now.